4 episodes in, you know the method. Buy assets, not liabilities. Mind your own business. Pay yourself first. Learn to sell, start small, be bold. Kiyosaki insists none of it takes genius. 5th grade math will do, he says. And he means it. Which leaves the question the whole book has been walking toward. If it's this simple, why isn't everyone rich? Rich Dad's answer. Because knowing the way isn't the same as walking it. Between every person and the money they say they want stand 5 obstacles. And not one of them is in your bank account. They're all in you. And the first one, you've already met. It sat on a picnic table in Hawaii, in episode 1, melting 2 ice cream bars, while a rich man offered 2 boys more and more money, and taught them to watch the feeling in their own chests. Fear. The oldest character in this series. Here's what Rich Dad knew about the fear of losing money. Everyone has it. The rich have it too. In all his years, Kiyosaki writes, he has never met a rich person who has never lost money, but he's met plenty of poor people who never lost a dime, because they never risked one. The difference was never the fear. It's what the fear is allowed to decide. And it's okay to be a coward about money. Kiyosaki is cheerful on this point. Everyone's a hero at something and a coward at something else. He tells of a friend's wife, an emergency room nurse. Show her blood and she flies into action. Mention investing and she flees the room. Show Kiyosaki an investment and he's calm. Show him blood and he faints. Nobody's brave everywhere. For the money cowards, Rich Dad kept a gentle rhyme instead of a lecture. If you hate risk and worry, start early. Time forgives almost everything. But most people, he says, lose because they're so afraid of losing. They play it safe their whole lives. Big house, big car, tiny investments, playing not to lose, instead of playing to win. His favorite medicine was a story. Rich Dad loved Texans. When Texans win, they win big, he'd say. And when they lose, it's spectacular. Go to San Antonio, he told the boys, and look at the Alamo. A battle that was lost, completely, bravely lost. And Texas turned it into a battle cry and a monument. Remember the Alamo. Texans don't bury their failures, Rich Dad said. They get inspired by them. He told the boys that story every time he was nervous before a big deal. Not because he wanted to lose, but because he knew what he'd do with a loss if it came. That's the whole teaching in one line. Failure inspires winners. Failure defeats losers. Losing is part of winning the way falling is part of learning to ride a bike. The rich just fall forward. The second obstacle talks. Constantly. Rich Dad called it the chicken little in every one of us. The voice, yours or a helpful neighbor's, that cries the sky is falling every time you're about to act. Kiyosaki tells the story of his friend Richard. Richard came from Boston to visit, saw what Robert and Kim were doing in Phoenix, and got excited. They spent 2 days finding him a bargain. A little 2-bedroom townhome. $42,000 in a market where its twins sold for $65,000. He bought it that afternoon and flew home thrilled. 2 weeks later, he backed out. His neighbor had told him it was a bad deal. His neighbor, who had never bought an investment property in his life. There's a name for what happened on that porch. Buyer's remorse. It comes for everyone, Kiyosaki says. And it always sends the same messenger. Somebody with no experience and total confidence. A few years on, the way he tells it, that townhome was worth $95,000 and renting for $1,000 a month in season. Richard's $5,000 start at freedom went to whoever wasn't listening to a neighbor. Cynics criticize, Rich Dad said. Winners analyze and listen for cynicism's favorite disguise, because it doesn't always sound frightened. Sometimes it sounds practical. I don't want to fix toilets, people tell Kiyosaki, dismissing 30 years of rental income in one sentence about plumbing. His answer, neither does he. That's why he hires a property manager. The I don't wants, Rich Dad said, hold the key to success. The exact place your objection lies is usually the place a solution is waiting to be bought, hired, or learned. Say, I don't want, and the door closes. Ask then, who does? And it opens. Rich Dad's cure for the inner chicken was cheerfully brutal. Do what Colonel Sanders did. The man who Rich Dad loved to recall was down to nothing at 66 and heard no more than 1,000 times before someone bought his chicken recipe. Do that to your chicken, little. Fry it. The third obstacle wears a disguise so good that most people who have it are proud of it. The laziest people, Kiyosaki says, are the busy ones. Too busy to look after their money. Too busy to look after their health, sometimes their marriage. Staying busy is the most respectable way ever invented to avoid something you don't want to face. Deep down, he says, the busy person knows exactly what they're avoiding, which is why they snap at you if you bring it up. He knew a neighbor, flat broke, whose garage was so full of toys for his kids that the car couldn't fit. Nothing saved for college, nothing for retirement. A new credit card in the mail and off to Las Vegas. I'm doing it for the kids. Busy, generous, exhausted, and avoiding. The cure sounds scandalous. A little greed. Kiyosaki says most of us were raised to feel guilty about wanting. We can't afford it. Stop thinking about yourself. But Rich Dad banned, I can't afford it, precisely because it's how a lazy mind lets itself off the hook. The question that cures laziness is the one from episode 1. How can I afford it? Asked while daring to want something. What would my life look like if I never had to work again? Without a little honest wanting, he'd say, there's no engine. Progress comes from desire. Guilt just sits in the garage with the toys. The fourth obstacle isn't dramatic at all. It's just an order of operations. Rich Dad asked young Robert, when your father pays his bills, who gets paid first? Everyone else, Robert said. And who gets paid last, if anything's left? He does. That, said Rich Dad, is why he struggles. The habit, everyone first, yourself last, feels responsible. It's the habit of almost every decent, hardworking person. And it quietly guarantees the asset column starves. Rich Dad paid himself first, fed his asset column before any other hand reached his wallet, and then let the pressure of the remaining bills do what pressure does. Force him to think, hustle, and invent. He wasn't preaching unpaid bills. He paid them, on time, every month. He just refused to be last in line for his own money. Remember the old comic book ad? The 98-pound weakling getting sand kicked in his face? That, Rich Dad said, is what bill collectors and taxmen do to people, forever, if you let them. He used the bullies the other way. Their pressure was his gym. Every month it made him financially stronger. The way weights make you physically stronger. Kiyosaki borrows the phrase from an older classic, The Richest Man in Babylon, and calls it the #1 difference between the rich and everyone else. Not income, order. The last obstacle is the expensive one, and it catches exactly the people who sailed past the other 4. What I know makes me money, Rich Dad said. What I don't know loses me money. Every time I've been arrogant, I have lost money. Arrogance, in his definition, is ignorance wearing confidence, believing that what you don't know doesn't matter. Kiyosaki says he meets it constantly in the money world. People blustering through conversations, not lying exactly, but not telling the truth either. Because the truth is, I don't know, and they can't say it. Markets build arrogance directly, and the antidote costs almost nothing. When you don't know, and you will always not know something, say so to yourself at least, and go find an expert or a book, which, not coincidentally, is what you're doing right now. Kiyosaki's own tell for the arrogant. They never read, and they never listen. They are, after all, already the center of the universe. So there they are, the 5 wolves between you and the gold. Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, arrogance. Notice what they have in common. Not one of them is about money. Every one of them is about you, which is the worst news and the best news in the book. because it means the whole fight happens on ground you control. But naming the wolves isn't the same as walking past them. Rich Dad didn't leave the boys with a diagnosis. He left them with training, the daily practices that turn a person who knows the method into a person who does it. And it begins in the mountains of Peru, with an old miner, and the best one-line answer in the whole book. Next time, the finale, the training, and where the gold is.